All right, so those of you who are asking where I am, I just actually gave the brief, but the video stopped. I'm in Kodaikanal. For everyone who wants to know more about my courses, just call up Gunjan, she will help you. In the meantime, we are getting our website ready so that you can start to really go and look at what all are the courses we do. Joining from Thailand on a holiday but was missing your live sessions. That's so sweet, Sapna Jain. God bless you, sweetheart. Oh wow, Aishwarya saying I'm in Kodaikanal too. That's awesome, Aishwarya. We are in the same city today. Pragya is asking, I want to become financially independent, but I'm stuck between housework and child. Pragya, I'm going to highly recommend you to come for my Passion to Profit Masterclass. What I'll do is I'll get the link put in my stories today for all of you here who want to become financially independent but are feeling stuck at home because of housework, because of children, because of joint family, because of no permissions. You are going to love this opportunity. Devika Singh, dear Pooja, good morning. How to stop ill feelings coming for a few who have done wrong to me and loved ones for which we are suffering. I also pray to God for the same to rise above this. You know what, I think Devika, you're already on track. The fact that you're already praying to get above it, that in itself is such a good thing. One of the things I do is I like to give it a new story. What if everyone who's done wrong to me has done it for a reason for me to wake up to start to live my highest purpose and passion? How many of you know this, that the truth is, till the time we don't have suffering, we don't do anything about our life. We get so comfortable in our comfort zone that sometimes God just needs to put in our life some problems, some issues so that we can rise from there. So I like to call all of these people disguised angels, and I love asking myself this question: what must be the lesson that God wants me to learn for what I am experiencing with these people? Maybe I need to learn more patience. Maybe I need to learn to stand up for myself. Maybe I need to learn how to control my anger. Maybe I need to realize that everything is not going to be in my control. Maybe I need to confront someone and honestly find out why they behave the way they behave. Maybe I need to get rid of some toxic people from my life. Maybe I need to go on a mission to truly live my best life and start to ignore these people who are currently creating any issues in my life. It could be anything. What I know is once we start to look for the lessons, the people become unimportant and the lessons become where we start to grow from. And once the growth journey starts, then God doesn't need to put these people in your life because you're already learning out of choice rather than learning out of suffering. So Devika, see if you can try all of this. I am logging in from Kerala vacation. That is so lovely to hear, Shamna. Daksha is asking, please help Pooja. Lost my mom and now my dad is in ICU. Brother and husband are not there for me emotionally. Daksha, our relationship with death needs to be, it is going to be fearful. Where you are sitting right now, sweetheart, there is nothing I can say right now that will make you feel better. Please understand, losing parents is so hard. And if we don't develop a new relationship with death, we are going to keep struggling. There are only two things God has kept in His control: when we are born, when we die. Rest of in the middle, He's given us all of the choice to choose whatever we like, right or not? So I want you to start to understand that, you know what? The more you can become friends with whatever God's decision, I surrender, the more you are attached to the idea of wanting to control someone's life, the more fearful, the more overthinking, the more anxious, the more sad you will become. The more you start to go, God, if He's meant to come back, please make sure He comes back. I would love to have Him a little longer. Whatever your deepest prayers are. But beyond that, in the end, start to say, you know what, at the end of the day, God, you know best. I don't want him to suffer. I don't want him to be in the ICU for years. I don't want to ever pray that he goes. So just whatever you think is the right thing to do that for me, and then give me the strength to cope with whatever you've chosen. And you know what, when you start to have that kind of faith in God, a lot of people, when they lose their loved ones, normally actually lose faith in God itself, because you feel like, how could God do that to me? But the real truth is, the one thing God actually told you from the day you were born is that you will die. No one in this world has escaped it. No matter how rich, how intelligent, how many degrees, how much, it doesn't matter what you do in your lifetime, you are going to go. And I think that when we start to develop a new relationship with death, it becomes so much easier. I'm not saying you're not going to grieve. I'm not saying you're not going to be sad. I'm just saying don't try to control what is not in your control. Rather, instead, surrender to God. There's a lot of power in that surrender. You know, when you start to truly believe that whatever God does will do for the best of me and my Father, then you will, start to feel very differently. And in the worst case scenario, one thing more I will say, and this may not really come out right, but I'm going to say this. Your mom is watching from heaven. She is protecting you already. You can feel her energetically. You know that she will not let any harm come to you. So even if you're not praying to God, make that very deep connection with your mom to tell her that, you know what, please make this work for me, not against me. So get your mom involved now that you have a spiritual spirit or whatever, spiritual person in heaven overlooking you. I always say, once your one parent is in heaven, you have a hotline with God. You don't need no panditjis, no gurujis, no priests, nobody in the middle. You are directly now in relationship with God because you have a hotline. So see if you can use them. As far as your brother and husband not being there emotionally, sometimes men switch off when they are in too much pain. I don't know about your husband and brother and what their situation is, but you know what? We women enter emotions in grief. Men actually exit emotions in grief. We women can handle so much more emotion than they can. So they actually look like they are not available, while the truth is that they don't know how to experience emotion, especially when it's very severe. So, I'm going to ask you to start to build such a beautiful relationship with God that you don't need anyone else, because you're so divinely protected by your mom and God. Like I said in the beginning, there's nothing I can say to make your situation better. All I can do is try to guide you towards handling this whole thing slightly better, but it's so hard. It's easy for me to say anything. I can sit here and say whatever I like, but you're the one who's going through it, and I can't even imagine what you must be going through, Meri Jaan. Jigisha Parman is saying, I'm in Bangalore, can we collab? Just before I go to Jigisha, can everybody who's in the chat box today, can you just send a prayer to Sweetheart for her father? Can we just collectively send out a prayer to the father? Thank you so much, everyone. All right. Jigisha, write to me. We'll see if we can collab, Sweetheart. For all of you who are financially independent, I want to get financially independent, I'm going to put the P2P, Passion to Profit Masterclass link in the chat box, in the story. Please go press the link and come for it, my darling. Abhijana Rajiv. I'm a personal branding coach, but I have no confidence and faith in myself. I can't move forward as I feel inconfident, and whenever I fail, I lose confidence. So if you are a personal branding coach, one of the things I want you to start to understand is that confidence and faith comes from taking small risks and accomplishing it. It's not like you're supposed to build yourself up or hype yourself up in confidence. True or not? So what I'd love for you to do is that I'd love for you to start to take small risks. And as you accumulate them, you build what I call the commitment muscle. It's like going to the gym. When you go to the gym, wouldn't you agree that the first day you can't lift 100 kilos? You can only lift maybe 2 kilos, then 4 kilos, then 10 kilos, then 20 kilos. And slowly you build this thing up. So I have a feeling what's happening with you is you're trying something when it's not succeeding, and in the first time normally things don't succeed, you're backing off thinking, okay, now let me rebuild my confidence and come back to redo it. wrong strategy, if I may say so. The right strategy is try something, know for sure that the first 1, 2 or 3 times when we do something in the beginning, pakka se we will fail. Which means if you sit on the cycle for the first time and try cycling, ek do baari to giroge na. So now that you know that, you should also know that, you know what, the first 1, 2 or 3 times, I am not going to attach my confidence to my action. I am going to attach practice to my action. So I am practicing, I am exploring, I am trying it out. And the more you explore, practice, try, with time, a time will come where, you know, you'll start to go, oh my God, I can so do this. My favorite quotation that I'd heard from Brian Tracy was, it's hard till it's easy. I'm going to repeat that. It's hard till it's easy. Write it somewhere on the bathroom mirror and just know, in the beginning, when the confidence is the lowest, everything is the hardest. And if you keep going and you don't stop because you get scared or because you get fearful, you don't stop, you keep doing, you keep making the mistakes, a time will come, you will become the pro. I remember the first time I did my masterclass, my legs were shivering and shaking underneath the computer table. I was like so scared कि भाई कोई आ जाए, कोई खरीद ले, कुछ किसी तरह हो जाए. Today I can do it in my sleep, and the only reason I say it is because I've done over 100 masterclasses by now. You do one every week. By the 20th week, you will become a pro. To become a pro, you have to overcome this idea that you need confidence to do things. You just need courage. Replace confidence with courage for some time. Just keep having the courage to keep going without attaching yourself to the results. Eventually the results will come, I promise you. But you know what? Till that point, you're just going to have to go on a journey of courage, and courage will bring confidence at some point. Devika Gera, I recently lost my dream job. How do I bounce back? Please help. Devika, anytime you lose a job, you have to connect it to God wanting to give you better. You see, we don't ever quit our job. We normally, not that we don't ever quit our job, but we don't ever quit our dream job. So if you've lost it, maybe God wants to show you something else more that you deserve or desire. Because normally when we have a dream job, ideally you should not have lost it, because the amount of value you should have been putting in it should not have allowed for anyone to let you go. If you've lost your job, then you have to really ask yourself, why was I dispensable? You know, and then make sure that in your next job, you become that person who, even if half of the company is removed, they won't remove you, because you're that very important. Especially when you value something this much. I have heard of a lot of people losing their jobs. I've rarely heard of people losing their dream job. So if you've lost your dream job, sweetheart, you've not added enough value at work. And I want you to really learn the art of becoming indispensable, which means you're going to have to work much, much harder than whatever you were doing right now. So it's going to be a new way of looking at your job, like as if it's your own company, not the company that you're working for, but it's like your own company. What all would you do? You need to build yourself not like an employee, but you need to start to think like an owner. And when you start to think like the owner, you become indispensable to the owner. Yeah? All right. Awesome. It came right to the bottom suddenly. What happened? I don't know. For all of you here who are writing, I want to be financially independent. I've already told you you're coming for P2P, okay? Passion to profit. Healy Fest. My fiance is getting angry if I tell something which my family requests to do anything. So I'm getting fearful to talk with him related to this. Our connect is getting reduces because of it. Please help. Pooja. You know what, Healy Fest, this is such a beautiful time to come to know the kind of man you are marrying. Okay, instead of understanding you, instead of supporting you, instead of creating a solution along with you, if he's getting upset with you only, then you have to understand that something's not right in this relationship. That, you know what, he can't behave like this any longer. He is now your fiance. You both need to be in it together. And if this is happening, then there is some trouble somewhere. So you need to sit down and talk to him and ask him that, you know what, if I'm going to get so fearful of every time having to speak with you, then how are we going to continue this conversation? And you know what? You have to learn to deal with whatever he has to say, especially his anger or whatever else is showing up. And tell him that, you know what, it's not okay. It's not okay for you to get upset with me on something that is not even in my control. These are things that I'm being asked to ask you. I don't want to ask you. Teach me how to deal with them. Teach me how to deal with my family. Let's together, and your family, let's together come together. We are one. They are the outsiders. So see if you can start to have these kind of conversations, because you know what, darling? These are the yellow flags in our courtship that we don't look at or recognize enough. And then we wonder later on, why did I marry a man who doesn't support me, understand me, and all of the other problems that start to show up after marriage. Yeah? Muskan Varsi, hey, what are the steps of changing your personality inside out? So the few things that I did, I will talk to you about maybe 3 things that I did. The number one thing that I did right in the beginning of when I decided that I wanted to have a different personality was learning to take 100% responsibility of my life. This is the number one principle taught by my teacher Jack Canfield, where he talks about how we need to stop blaming and complaining and stop being victims to the world and start to take 100% responsibility of our life. That means everything that is happening in our life, either we are creating it or we are allowing it to happen. And when you operate from the energy of that you are creating it, you are allowing it to happen, then you can actually undo something in it, you know. I remember my teacher used to speak about this formula called E plus R equals to O, which was basically event plus response equals to outcome. Now, we can't change the events of our life. Those are done by the universe to us. But we want to change the outcome. Then where do we have all of our control? In the response area. Once we start to have a better ability to respond, a lot of people that are actually stands for react, where we are just going on reacting to the world. किसी ने हमें थप्पड़ मारा, हमने वापस थप्पड़ मार दिया. किसी ने हमें चुम्मी दी, हमने वापस चुम्मी दे दी. We are stuck in this whole journey of thinking that we have to all the time act as if the other person, how the other person acts. Not realizing we can very well bring our own energy to every incident. Somebody is bad to us, we can still choose to be calm and peaceful. Somebody is good to us, and we realize that, you know what, I want to be nice to them, we can then choose to do that. We can choose to choose all of our emotional reactions, responses, maturity, intelligence in emotions. All of these are choices. And the day you start to take ownership, the day you start to say, you know what, I'm no longer going to be the puppet in other people's hand, I want the remote control of my life back, I feel like your entire personality changes. So that was one. I think another thing that I personally worked very hard upon was say what you mean what you say. I used to be a very casual person in terms of, you know, ठीक है, बोल दिया, नहीं हुआ, तो react क्यों कर रहे हो? That kind of a person, you know. I tried, okay, I just wanted to be nice. I had, you know, oh God, it's just a movie, it's just a cake, it's just a... But it's not just it is the promise you're making to others and the promises that you're making to yourself that eventually decide your entire lifeline. So I felt like what really changed is, I remember for a year or so, I became a lot more quiet. And anytime anybody asked me something, instead of saying, yeah, of course, I'll be there, I will do it, or whatever promises that I used to earlier make, I started to say, I'll try, but I'm not sure. I'll try, but I'm not sure. In advance, let them know that, you know what, till the time I got to a personality where I knew what I will be able to do and what I won't be able to do, I just started to speak a lot lesser, stopped being so casual about my commitments, started to really focus on especially the commitments I was making to myself. You know, we still take other people seriously. Who we don't take seriously is ourselves. So a lot of times you'll say, I'll wake up from tomorrow half an hour earlier, I'm going to start dieting, I'm going to stop drinking alcohol, I'm going to do... We make all of these promises and none of us, or a lot of us, don't land up keeping them. And when you don't land up keeping them, it becomes a problem because your conscious mind and your subconscious mind don't trust each other. Imagine being in a relationship where there's no trust. That relationship is never going to last. And some of us are in our own relationship with ourselves where we don't trust ourselves and we wonder why we can't trust the world. Can I tell you, the lesser your trust within, the lesser your trust in the world outside. You cannot neither trust nor people can trust you. And trust is the fabric, the currency of all relationships. So working on first learning to trust yourself is maybe one of by far the biggest lessons that I've learned in my life. And the third one in my personality, I would say becoming non-judgmental. Earlier on, I used to have a lot of opinion on a lot of people. Who's good, who's not good, who's nice, who's not nice, why somebody's behaving like this, why would they do this to me? There was a lot of all of this. And then as I started to become a lot more spiritual, I started to realize that my creator makes no mistakes. That every creation of his is exactly what the world needs. I may not have the intelligence to know this, but what I know today is that I don't know how it serves the world. What I know is it is required. So good people, bad people, horrible people, amazing people, spiritual people, materialistic people, greedy people, kind people, cruel people, all are required for this world to work. So now I feel like over the years, I'm not going to say I've become non-judgmental completely, but I am going to say every time I remember to come back to whenever I feel like, there is a lack of peace in my heart, I know I'm busy judging someone. I am trying to fix or change something in someone that I want them to be more how I like them to be rather than how they actually are. So moving yourself from, from how you want someone to be to learning to accept them for how they are. Now, I'm not talking about people who are putting you in unsafe situations. So domestic violence is not a part of this conversation, or any kind of wrongdoing or unlawful behavior is not a part of this conversation. But I'm saying generally, let's just say people are just different from us. We are all the time trying to fix them. See if you can stop fixing and start loving. Because one of the biggest lessons of my life has been that either you can be in judgment or you can be in gratitude. You can never be in both. And as I have moved all of my energy to gratitude, I feel like my ability to manifest life has become so much better because I vibrate at so much more positive level. And I think I've let go of this desire that I need to fix anyone else because I'm so busy fixing so much in myself. Once you realize actually there's so much to do or so much work to be done on yourself, that you stop focusing on others. And I think that's the biggest gift we give to others, when we stop focusing on them and start to build who we are. And just by becoming a better person, you actually change your complete environment. So your vibration change actually reduces and removes all of those people that are currently creating trouble in your life. So how to become a better personality? Number one, take more responsibility. Two, become a lot more dependable by building trust in yourself for others and for yourself. And number three, by starting to see if you can let go of judgments. So yeah, that's my answer for you. Official Lakshmi Sanju saying, my husband is not talking to me. We are living separately. He's giving me the silent treatment. What to do about this? So Lakshmi, the thing with men is that when they find this the easiest way to fight. For them, stonewalling, as it's called in the language of psychology, is basically the silent treatment, which is that instead of dealing with the problem, they shut down towards you. I don't know what to do about this in regard to, I don't know what the issues are. What I know is if someone is giving you the silent treatment and you keep begging them to give you importance, attention, or speak to you, it rarely works. Which means what? You need to work on yourself to make yourself more and more independent of a man who's not emotionally available to you. So see how you can start to move towards becoming this person who can be unaffected. And I'm not saying you will truly be unaffected, but you can start to walk that path or the journey. You can start to try living a life of being unaffected. So I'd love for you to just try this out. For me, I feel like any kind of abuse, and silent treatment also, by the way, comes under abuse. And us accepting that abuse gives the other person more and more, power to do that to us again and again once they realize that you tend to react negatively. See, eventually people want to get a reaction out of you, and he's able to get a reaction out of you when he behaves in this manner, because you may land up, requesting him, begging him, pleading him that, at least talk, whatever it is, let's sort it out. And that's what he's enjoying right now, this neediness of yours, right? If you stop needing him, imagine the kind of power you will have over yourself. Now, I don't know enough, but I'm just having to guess through your situation. So you see what works for you, sweetheart. But I just want you to know, for me, any sort of, whether the man is contemptuous, or he is defensive, or he's giving me the silent treatment, or he's being a critical human being, or he's constantly being unsupportive, all of these are signs to women that, the masculine is no longer able to protect us and provide for us the way they were supposed to. They have lost that. But they are still keeping their entitlement to be served. They want to be served, but in response, what they were supposed to do, they've stopped doing. And they're wondering now why women are stopping doing what they were supposed to do, because we're not receiving what we need. Then how can we give you what you need? So the needs are not being met. So each one is now having to look after their own needs. And when in a relationship, you have to look after your own needs, then automatically the relationship starts to go this way, because there's no longer the safe space for us to be in the relationship feeling secure. And when our security and our stability gets shaken up, then automatically we start to go on a route where you're like, I need to look after myself, because clearly he's not available to me. And I remember walking this path at some point in my life, and I can tell you that the beauty is, the stronger you become, the more people come back into your life. The more successful you become, the more people come back into your life. So instead of pleading and begging, my suggestion, just work on yourself, Meri Jaan. Leena Savur Singh, Pooja, you didn't answer my question. My personal apologies to every single one of you who come week after week and your question doesn't get answered because I don't land up seeing it. Now, what happens with Instagram Live is that every now and then it goes straight to the bottom. So instead of me scrolling, it just will go off to the bottom. And if in the bottom there are 5-6 questions, then I just start from there itself, because even I don't know at which point what got left out. So in case your question has not been answered, just see if you can type it again, and I'll try my best to cover it if we have enough time. Mansi, hello ma'am, I'm staying with a narcissist mother-in-law. Every time I try to not fall in her trap, I land up in a bigger trouble. Please help. So Mansi, you know what? The thing is that when you are with a narcissist mother-in-law, you have to start to become powerful enough. So you're going to have to slowly work on building a very, very thick skin towards the things that she has to say. Having said that, you have to still continue doing the duties that are expected out of you. So both, it's a combination of building a thick skin as well as still doing the duties. One of the things I always suggest to women is take your husband in confidence and find out from him what is it that you should be doing, because nobody knows his mother better than him. So let him guide you through how he would like you to do it. Now let's say you do what he's asked you to do, and in return you hear something from your mother-in-law that was absolutely wrong, or should not have been said, or she's not interpreted it the right way. Guess who's going to feel guilty towards you? The man who guided you. So let him take the brunt of his mom's misbehavior, rather than you trying to handle a lady who's way more mature, way more manipulative, way more knowing, way more in her own territory, her son, her husband, her house that you normally come into. So you know what, you're fighting a battle with a very, very, strong opponent. So maybe the strategy cannot be strength versus strength. Maybe the strategy needs to change. So I would love for you to look at how you can start to prioritize and take guidance from your husband rather than trying directly to deal with this woman. Now, what a lot of times may happen is when your husband speaks to you, you may start to feel like, oh God, even he's on her side. He's telling me exactly to do what she wants me to do. So instead of taking my side, he's always on her side. While the truth is, in him encouraging you to take her side or to do things according to her, he will have to compensate you for all of that. So sometimes we don't realize that actually doing it in accordance, it's not that she has won. She may have won the battle. You will win the war, Meri Jaan. So you have to become super strategic, because you know you have a strategic mother-in-law. You know that woman is clever enough to take you for a ride, and the reason you've been falling into her trap or into bigger troubles is because you're thinking you can fight her directly. No, this is going to have to be what we call guerrilla warfare. You know what is guerrilla warfare? This is when armies used to be sleeping, and in their sleep, the other army used to attack at night and take over more through strategy rather than through power. So you may not have the power to right now hold yourself against her, but you definitely have the strategy to work through this whole situation. Now remember, one thing narcissist loves is your downfall. So if you keep on having these kind of traps and getting into bigger trouble, she's right now winning clearly. So you need a new strategy. Take help of someone who can guide you a lot more. Yes, Meri Jaan? My Nana's daughter, ma'am, I did your coaching mastery course. Still I'm facing that issues about finance. Others, can you please suggest me something what I can do in your Sisterverse program again? Ma'am, I love you and I trust you. My dear sweetheart, if you've come for coaching mastery and you've realized that you don't want to be a coach, you want to be some other business person, the whole thing is now you understand that there is a learning in business that is required. Do you know there are statistics that 90% of all businesses that start shut in the first 1 year? Do you know there are statistics that it takes about 3 businesses for us to fail in before we become successful? So now that we know all of these maths and we know all of these structures, I would love for you to start to consider, if coaching is not your path, what is your path, and then spend the next 700 days dedicating yourself to becoming the smartest person in that field, whatever that field is. It doesn't matter what you choose. The thing is, you have to go eventually from being a honeybee to a flower. What's the difference? Honeybee is the one who puts in a lot of hard work in the beginning to truly master, to truly become competent in the topic of choice. And then a day comes when you become flower. That means your nectar becomes so sweet, your color, your blossoming becomes so amazing that now people start to get attracted to you. So that day will come, but you have to work really hard for 2 years on one topic. The problem is, when we want to earn money, we want to earn money fast. So within 3 months, 6 months, 8 months, we want to earn this money. It takes about 2 years to start making money in a business. Now, when I say this, no, most people don't like it, but the real truth is 2 years to start to make money, 2 years to recover the money that you put in for the first 2 years that you did business, and it's only by the end of the 4th year, beginning of the 5th year, that you actually start to move into profit. So business people in this room, please know you have to have the capacity, the cash flow, the understanding of money enough to be able to go on this 3, 4, 5 year journey. What I know is, once you have planted this tree, a time will come where this tree will start to give you fruits. So much fruits that you don't have to put in any effort and the fruits will come. But for the first 5 years, what do you need to do? You have to really tend to that plant. So I feel like anytime I hear someone ask me, what else can I do? What else can I do? You're thinking, from a different point of view. I want you to start to look at what is that one thing I am going to master for the next 2 years. I'm going to watch every YouTube video on that topic. I'm going to read every possible book under the planet in that topic. I'm going to go join every course in that topic, and then you educate yourself. Do you know 75% of all people are not using their college education, which means they are sitting without any real talent to be able to make money, because those who are not using their college education, from where are they going to master any art? You're going to have to do it through YouTube, books, and courses like mine, or Success Gyan offers amazing different courses. Or outside of Success Gyan, we have like the world right now, thanks to Zoom, there is teachers appearing everywhere. I want you to go seeking what it is that you're going to do, and then dedicate 2 years of your life to mastering it. Now, for young mothers who are listening, this is the time to dedicate 2 years of learning, so that by the time your child starts to go to preschool or to proper school, you are already ready. That point is not the time to start. That is the time to actually suddenly blossom. So your 2 years are when your children are small. A lot of time I hear women say, but my kids are too small. That's the learning period. That's not the earning period. In your life, you're going to have the learning period, and then you're going to have the earning period. And I think a lot of us want to be earning in our learning, and that's where we go wrong. Okay, so see how you can use all of this, my darling. Nidhi, hi, I'm a developer and I want to make a shift in technology. I need to upskill, confused whether the decision is correct. Also want to make a comeback on Insta as content creator, how to manage it all. Sweetheart, if you're having this feeling, there is nothing wrong, because upskilling anything that you desire is a great thing to do. How else are you going to progress in life? So how can it be an incorrect decision? I don't know. For me, anytime someone says I am constantly seeking out how I can upskill every session of mine, every conversation of mine. Where can I seek intelligence? Where can I seek wisdom? Who can I speak to? Currently, I'm in Kodaikanal with this lovely couple who is so brilliant, so smart, so intelligent. Just spending 3 days with them has been like, oof, mind-blowing. There's so much I've learned in the last 3 days that just, you spend time with better people, you'll automatically become better. So I'd love for you to look at how you are going to now start to upskill, and never be confused about when you want to grow in life. It's always a fabulous idea, because can I tell you, there is a lot of competition in the bottom of the pyramid. Okay, but the more you keep growing your competency, the more you keep upskilling your strengths, the road starts to become more and more freeway. Okay, there will be hardly any traffic, and you then start to become the coveted person, the chosen person, where people are looking for good people everywhere. Can I tell you, every employee is wanting a better job, and every business owner is wanting a better employee. It is just that the people here and the people here are right now not fitting the puzzle, because this person wants a better person while this person wants a better job. It's the perfect fit, but there are such few people who are fitting that profile. If you work on your competency, on your upskilling or your proficiency, oh my God, that is the biggest gift you can give to the job world generally also, and to your own self. Sneha, my Devar and Devrani pretend that they care for family, but only for each other actually, and my hubby and me keep doing for them, but this time I'm extremely hurt with what hubby says. We are elder, so let go what to do. My dear darling Sneha, I understand where you're coming from, but I will tell you this, that you know what, anytime when it comes to his family, we as the spouse need to go along with whatever he wants to do, because it's his brother. Okay, so when we start to bring in, our energies can never match the love of your husband for his brother. I want you to imagine the same situation with your brother and bhabhi. Okay, so imagine if you had a brother and bhabhi and they were doing something wrong, you may let go because he's yours. Okay, now your husband may be upset with you on doing that, but you understand that, you know what, he's after all my blood relation. The same thing could be happening to your husband, where he could be feeling like, even though what they're doing is not right, I don't want to get petty with these people because I'm married to the eldest brother in my joint family, and I can tell you that one of my greatest lessons in life has been to back off when it comes to his family and let him decide how he wants to operate with his mother, with his brothers, with their wives, how he wants to operate. And I want to become the support system that gives him the power and the strength that I don't want justice from them. I just want you to be happy. So my focus is to make sure that my husband is happy, and if in his happiness there is a little bit of injustice that he has to face because of the people he loves, you know what? The thing about family is that there will be givers and there will be takers. And when the givers try to be takers, it doesn't work for them. Your husband will be like a fish out of water if he's a giver, especially if he's in the elder category, and he starts to try to become a taker. You're going to think, oh, but you saved him from the injustice of this Devar and Devrani who are so greedy, so selfish, and whatever words you want to use on them. While the truth is that, had you allowed him to give there, he would have known what he's doing to you is a little wrong, and he would have compensated you for the support that you would have given him, and your relationship would have become better, even though you will be very visibly knowing that what they are doing is wrong, but you will come closer. Now, the reverse is also true. Let's say you stop your husband from doing anything nice to them because you're so deeply hurt. What's going to happen is he may not do it for them because you are being too, you've gotten too hurt and whatever, you felt very, very bad. What can happen is that he may become rude to them, but he also may become rude to you because he had to follow you rather than you following him in his family. Now, the opposite was also true. Whenever it will be decisions to be made in your family setup, he should be following you. And whenever it is decisions being made in his family setup, you should be allowing him to lead. And when that happens, you as a couple become so much more stronger. If I ever had to do orientation for marriages, this would be a very 1 hour interesting topic for me to take on the guidance that I feel like we need to give to the couple on how to be with each other's family, and why it's so important that even if the other person's family is not a great family, it is not our job to judge and protect him from his own family. It is not. We shouldn't take that as our responsibility. He knows how to be in his family. He was there with them much before you came in. So while you may be feeling like, they are not nice, we don't know what role that Devrani is playing. We don't know what role that Devar is playing. What I know is his love for them is direct. Your love for them is through him. So see if you can use all of this and become more of a support and a strength to him on the actions he wants to take, even if you know that the other person doesn't deserve the love and the goodness that your husband carries. I'm so happy you are married to the good man. Remember this, God will be, when we are married to the better people of the world, they will always get taken for granted. And you know what, when we try to protect them, we actually take away their goodness. Don't take away your husband's goodness. See if you can support him. Now, again, I've said all of this in keeping in mind a regular joint family, but if yours is something very unique, or your Devar Devrani are going out of their way to purposefully hurt him in manners that can impact, your future or whatever, then, you'll have to see how much of this is relevant to you, Mirijan. Train to transform her. Hi Pooja ma'am, I realized on my journey towards healing that my mother has played a big role in damaging me in a lot of ways, although she didn't do it purposefully. Now when I tell her, she starts fighting. You know what, as parents we make so many mistakes. I don't know if you are a mother yet or not, but I just want you to know that even though sometimes our hearts are clear, our experiences and our life situations, when parents operate from a place of fear, what happens is they'll end up damaging their children quite extremely. And maybe that's exactly what's happened. Rather, I would say that 80% of all wounds that live in a human being are childhood wounds given by parents. Parents whose intentions were good, but understanding was not. And so I think one of the things in our lives, all of us should try to do is go to therapy in some form, to let go of all of that pain and hurt that we are carrying. So one of the things I love doing, and see if it works for you, is instead of expressing to her, start writing letters. Start writing letters to her of all of the pain that you're carrying. Start to journal it on paper and burn the papers later. She doesn't need to know about your hurt, because every time you're expressing to her, now you are doing to her what she has done to you. Okay, now ideally, if you are a parent and you're listening to this, and if your child ever comes to you with a pain, do not get defensive, even though you have 100 reasons on why you did what you did at that point. See if you can apologize, because your apology is a direct balm or a healer to your child's wound. And at the end of the day, is your ego greater or your child's recovery or healing greater? So to those of you who are listening as parents, let's apologize to our children, because there is no parent who's perfect. No matter how perfect you think you are as a parent, you are not. We cannot be. The job of parenting is get some things right, and some things will turn into what we call voids. Voids become values, which means whatever were the minuses of your parents will become the pluses of your life. Now, if you have a very minused parent, the beauty is that all of the things they did wrong, you're never going to do. Hopefully, I hope. Okay, if you've learned your lesson the right way, you will avoid that. You will say, I don't want to be like her. I don't want to do things like her. I don't want to. And guess what will that do to you? It will make your life amazing. So a lot of times we can actually thank our parents for the damage they did to us, because guess what? We can then choose differently. So instead of expressing to her now, see, she can't go back in time and undo anything. You can't go back in time and undo anything. So all of this conversation is only going to ruin what you have with her now. So letter writing works beautifully. It's one of the most wonderful ways. There's a concept called the truth letter. I'd love for you to just look up Byron Katie truth letter and see if you can just start to write a lot of these truth letters to your mother. You will start to see a huge shift in your personality as you go through the anger, the hurt, the fear. There is different layers and levels at which all of our pain is living in our body. And when we start to address it that deeply, it becomes extremely profound to, you will see the releasing of all of the pain that you are carrying from your body happen. Oh my God, we've already reached 10:54, so I'm going to start to wrap up. Okay, let's take one more question and then I'll just go right to the bottom, find a question, answer that, and then I can see so many questions. Oh my God. You know what? Thank you so much for writing in, and if your question is not getting answered, I'm so sorry for that. It's just become, now the time has come where it's just impossible for me to cover all of the questions in the 1 hour that I keep for all of you per week. Okay, let me go right to the bottom and find the last question. Eternally yours. Ma'am, my in-laws are really giving me a hard time today. Looks like some in-laws conversation is extreme. So every time when they do something, I ask God that what is it that they are trying to teach me, but I don't get any answers what to do. Eternally yours, you may need someone outside to help you. So my suggestion is speak to Gunjan and join our awakening program. Let us show you how to interpret what are the lessons that you are currently being asked by God to learn. Okay, so if you join the awakening program, it will really help you, sweetheart. Okay. Veena Krishna is asking, hi ma'am, how can I overcome my laziness? I'm always so sleepy. So Veena, you need to see, you will have to examine your diet, you will have to examine your blood reports, you're going to have to examine your lifestyle, you're going to have to examine, I don't know what it could be. What I know is it's one of these things in your environment that is causing you to be so sleepy. Sometimes when we are not motivated itself, we become super sleepy. So see, do you have a higher purpose in your life? Do you have something that you get excited about when you wake up in the morning? You start to build clarity in your life. There's a lovely thing called the passion test. If you ever come for any of my programs, I will help you do that with me. And the passion test really works like magic because it gives you so much clarity on where you need to go. A lot of times when we don't know where we are going, we start to get very complacent in life. So always you should have the desire to up-level your life, which means being content with your past, but always ambitious about your future. When you're ambitious about your future, all of this laziness, sleepiness, all of it will go away, because there will be a bold enthusiasm and excitement that will come into your energy, into your vibration, into your body, that really operates at a very, very different level. Like, there used to be a time when I used to be all the time, I was not sleepy, but I used to be in fatigue. Full time, I used to always just be tired. Like, I wouldn't know why I'm so tired. And then when I started to really live my life from the space of building or creating it, designing my life, as I call my company Life by Design, the entire energy shifted, Veena. So I just want you to know that you start to think differently, all of this will start to go away. Unless it's a medical issue that you need to address. And that's also a great thing to go and find out. All right, on that note, let's quickly do our photo. We'll take a nice, lovely picture. Actually, why don't we take the picture outside? Let me see if I can walk outside with this and take some in front of some flowers. So if you want, you can take a picture now, or you can take a picture once I step out, and then we can, you know the drill. If you don't know and you're here for the first time, all you have to do is put your biggest takeaway from today's session. I just want you to see these gorgeous flowers. I don't know if you can see them. The whole thing is so gorgeous. Everywhere, everywhere, everywhere. They're just flowers. There's this lovely pathway. Look at these trees. Isn't it beautiful? All of the trees and everything is so gorgeous. Okay, quickly now. Let's take the picture. Can I do heart? I can't do heart. Half heart I can do. I can do this. I can do this. And then all you need to do is put it in your story. You know what you're going to win, right? So right now our prize is really mind-blowing, which is you get a free ticket. The one who does best gets a free ticket to our course called the Love Mastery, which is happening in August. 3 days online on working with your relationships, especially your love relationships. So if that's something that interests you, excites you, don't forget to put my picture plus what was your biggest takeaway and tag me so that I can share it in my stories. Yeah? Love you all. Thank you so much for coming. It was fabulous. And I'm going to be enjoying the whole day in this lovely forest looking house, which is so cute. 140 years old. This is the Gostasberg. All right. Ciao. Bye. And the winner from last week, we will send you a message. Okay? We will send you a message of who won last week's challenge and who's won that free ticket to our Love Mastery course. And this week, make sure that you write to us or you do the whole thing in the story so that we can announce the winner. And it's really worth it. This 3 days is going to be mind-blowing. For those of you who have attended Love Bubble, know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah? All right. How many of you love hydrangeas? See? Aren't they beautiful? Look at the blue ones and look at those gorgeous purple flowers all across. So pretty, so pretty. Have a green tea with ginger and lemon. Yes, thank you so much. You know, for me, I get this cold so easily. So, and it goes away after the morning. So suddenly by 12 o'clock, it'll disappear. It'll be there and then it'll be gone. Just showing you around these gorgeous mountain trees and the beautiful flowers on both sides. Taking you on a walk through this beautiful, there's a lovely rose garden there. Isn't it just fabulous? I mean, it's so lovely to be in the mountains. Anything near, close to nature is always so lovely. Just enjoying the whole gorgeousness of the mountains and of the house. Let me see if I can reach the garden and show you the view from this particular place. Cold allergy, yeah, that's truly what I have. I get it. especially in the mountains, because the flowers are so many that there's pollen like all across, and when there's so much pollen, I tend to get cold very easily. Okay, I have reached the garden. Let me show you the garden. It's so pretty. 1 minute. Isn't it so pretty? And look at this gorgeous tree. I love this tree. It adds so much character. All of the gorgeous flowers. And if you want to see the view, that's the view. If you can see the Kodaikanal lake, let me see if I can show you the lake. There you go. And that's the Carlton Hotel. Next to it is the Kodai International School. So beautiful, isn't it? And that's the highest mountain there. If you can see that mountain with that slight beard on top, that's the highest mountain in Kodaikanal. All right. That's the house. That's the lovely glass house. That's the beautiful house. All right, I'm going to run on that note, and enjoy my lovely cup of tea in the back end. Yeah, it really is divine, isn't it? All right. Thank you for taking a round of Kodaikanal with me. Loads of love. Bye. Ciao, everybody. Take care.